What time is it, Kira?
It's time for the State of Podcast, Alex.
What are we doing today? Usually I say what we're talking about today, but I fucked up there. But we'll carry on anyway.
For some reason, the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're letting me do it with you, but...
Well, compared to Adam or Dave?
Well, yeah, people who know stuff about Star Wars.
Well, mainly because you're more of a novice when it comes to
I wouldn't even...
this
Novice
franchise.
is kind.
Wow. You're new to the films in a sense. Obviously, we are talking about the prequel trilogy. That is episodes 1, 2, and 3. We may dabble into the Tartakovsky 2D animated Clone Wars TV show, which you have seen.
Yeah.
Which I feel is more important than the 3D anime one, because it ties more into the films. But yeah, no. What's your kind of like thoughts overall on the prequel trilogy before we go into the each film essentially?
I mean, overall they're just kind of, you have to watch them with somebody. Because they're more just for the memes at this stage. They're not great pieces of film on their own, never mind as part of the Star Wars canon.
Even as a trilogy? Because some find this is the best trilogy because it at least...
Well, it does all tie together, I guess, in a way.
It ties so well together, I feel you could edit it into probably one fucking film, but, you know...
I mean, look, the acting isn't great, but I do enjoy all of the actors who are playing their characters. Even though they're not doing a good job, I still just kind of enjoy them. Yeah. I feel like they're kind of not having fun, but they've made the most out of what they were doing. Yeah. I know they were intolerable. My biggest complaint was that they were boring. At times, I didn't really have too many actual issues with any of them.
What do you think, even like CG wise in these films? It does range from great to really shit. I think
the problem is having seen parts of the original trilogy, which was a lot of practical effects,
special editions.
Bar the special editions. I think it's weird because obviously at the time whenever they were making them, they obviously would have thought, oh, this is great, like finally working with digital. And then like everything, it doesn't age, whereas practical effects tend to age a lot better. So I think the prequels, I mean, bar the controversial choices that they made and the digital effects, they're more boring. I don't think they look great. The last one is okay.
Revenge.
Yeah. There are times it's a bit ropey, but
Revenge?
Yeah.
We'll get into that later.
The big fight at the end of Mustafar. That was... What's the place called? Mustafar?
Mustafar, yeah. I mean, I thought it looked good, but alright. I didn't know what you were on, but I thought that looked alright, no offense. But, no, well, this is the start of, like, I imagine, like a 3-part, 3-episode sort of series we're doing. Because I assume we're just going to do all 3 trilogies.
My second time watching them all.
Well, yeah, not in a row. I imagine. I don't imagine next week's episode is going to be, next week's episode is actually Call of Duty, I believe. But no, I think Phantom Menace to me. Well, we'll start with Phantom Menace, may as well. Phantom Menace to me is kind of strange because it stands out like more than any other Star Wars film. Because you have episodes 2 and 3. Which feel very similar in terms of just overall presentation, everything essentially. Yeah. You have the original trilogy. There is some form of consistency within that. The sequel trilogy is again, at least, it does feel like these are 3 films. Even, we'll get into that, Yeah. We're not fans of that as a trilogy, but at least they all feel very similar. But Phantom Menace feels so different to every Star Wars film. From just cinematography, from acting, from writing, from just literally everything. Now, some of it good and bad, obviously, but it does weirdly stand out.
Yeah.
Like, even the lightsabers look different in this film than they do in episodes 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Like, it's very strange. I don't know
never
what
really
it
thought
is.
about it like
But
that.
it does feel very... Just if you literally think about it, everything about the film feels completely different to episodes 2 and 3. I don't know what it is. But...
Yeah, now that you say it, I guess it does feel a wee bit... It does feel like it's not part of the trilogy. It does feel like
it does feel easily skippable.
Yeah.
To, like, you could probably skip it more than any other Star Wars film. You know.
Well, I think...
Other than, like, the spin-offs like Rogue One and Solo, obviously. I'm talking about, like, mainline,
Yeah.
you know, Skywalker saga stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I do like the idea of showing us Anakin as a kid. I just think that there's so much more material they could have chosen to make a film of instead, and then done a prequel of a prequel, like maybe
well,
with
like,
an Anakin.
I know I've always said this about the prequel trilogy, where I feel realistically, watch episode 2, watch the Tartakovsky 2D animated Clone Wars series, because it's literally 2 hours long altogether. It's the length of a Star Wars film.
Yeah.
And then watch episode 3, and that's the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
Because something we'll get into later in episode 2 and 3, where I feel there's a bit of a gap in between. It's just sort of like the end of 2 is the Clone Wars start, and then the start of 3, it's over. It's like, wait, what? No, there was a period of time there we didn't, you know.
It is a bit, it's really strange. Actually.
Yeah,
but there should have been like Attack of the Clones.
There should
have
been
the first film, and
there
should have been something in between.
But no, you like, I don't know what it is. There's something special, weirdly, about Phantom Menace. I don't know what it, but I don't know literally anything as to why, you know, I think that, but I think it just genuinely stands out in every single way.
Yeah.
Like, if you literally take anything from it, like the lightsaber, Darth Maul's lightsaber isn't truly red. It's a slightly more orange hue compared to, you know, the lightsaber scene.
That's such a picky detail.
No, but like, if you use it, if you see it in the desert, sure way, you're like, that doesn't look red compared to like Count Dooku's lightsaber and stuff. No, you may say, it's, you know, not, it's in the daytime situation, but I just find it kind of strange. You know, just overall that this one film is completely different to every single film, whether it be good or bad.
And it has nothing to do with the characters we're following, does it?
It's everything.
Like, it is,
literally,
it is weird that for the most part of the film, until they meet Anakin, the main characters are Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon.
Well, I'm kind of fine with that.
But
I'm kind of fine with
like
Anakin
that.
being like a secondary character. That makes sense for that film. Anakin's more of a main character when it comes to the third film. Even the second film.
The second film, he doesn't.
He's sort of like, you can tell they're trying to do him be the main character, but it's, you know. But like, take one character for example, Obi-Wan Kenobi in Phantom Menace, completely different character in 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Like he's the same character in 2 and 3, completely different in 1. Now you may say, it's because he's a Padawan and all that, but Ewan McGregor is like literally a completely different character in the film.
In what way?
He just acts completely like, he does. He's just maybe it is because he's a Padawan. You know, Qui-Gon's kind of doing everything. Because obviously he's a secondary character in this film. In Phantom Menace.
Was it that he's not taking?
He doesn't say much. Like, he doesn't really.
He is kind of sarcastic.
But he only has like
weird
2 or 3 lines that are kind of like that.
Yeah. The relationship between him and Liam Neeson's character
is nothing.
There's
nothing there. Because you know, like, obviously we're spoiling these films and stuff for people whoever hasn't seen these films, right? But you get to the end of the film and they're like, getting all sad, and for some reason Liam Neeson's doing this weird, I'm touching Ewan McGregor's face, kind of like in a clawing, kind of cradling way, and I'm like, sorry, are they meant to have been buddies? Because first of all, they weren't with each other for about half the fucking film.
Well, that's a reoccurring thing.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that, but you know, I don't understand where. Like, I understand Qui-Gon. We feel bad for kind of Qui-Gon because we've seen him throughout the whole film. When it comes to Obi-Wan, he's not really a character in this film. He literally does one thing at the end and that's it. You know. And I know it's meant to be like he's sort of... It would have made more sense had Obi-Wan Kenobi been the main character of that film.
Yes, yeah. I agree.
Rather than Anakin. And Anakin be more of a secondary character.
Yeah.
Because we know nothing about this, we know nothing about Obi-Wan other than what we know in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
It's
so true. And Obi-Wan's kind of the most interesting character.
In this trilogy or overall?
I think in this trilogy.
How? What does he do? He just kills people.
Yeah, but he should be the most interesting character in the sense that he's so... Like, he has Liam... Right, so you've Qui-Gon Jinn, who has, like, obviously all of these... You said it was kind of like the Grey...
Oh, Grey Jedi. Yeah. Oh, it's not really canon, Grey Jedi.
I know, but he does.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like
kind of have like the very Liam Neeson ideals.
Yeah.
Like
something that Count Dooku goes more into.
Yeah, he just takes it a bit too far. But then you have like Anakin, who obviously is the dark side. But then you have, but it's weird because Obi-Wan like is so set on doing the right thing and like being the perfect Jedi that he doesn't seem to realize the problems with being like of the Jedi. So I think that's really interesting, and they don't really go into how confused Obi-Wan, like his views actually are, like how detrimental they are on Anakin.
Well, almost in this kind of way, because it's kind of weird because one problem with this film I find is don't introduce a character in the next film, okay? Don't introduce a character in episode 2 that just should have been in episode 1, and that's obviously Count Dooku.
Yeah.
Right? Now,
yeah.
I don't know why there's nothing about him. It's obviously he was never meant to be in the in the series, and he was just added in later.
It's kind of sad too because I love Christopher Lee, so I just would
well,
have
this
liked
annoys
to
me because everyone says, oh, this trilogy was planned, and I was like, well, fucking loosely, because there's no way, if this was planned, this is fucking shambles. If, they skipped a character. Because, like, that character really should have been there, because I think the problem is, Count Dooku's such a pointless character, unless you take into account the Clone Wars TV shows. Like, either one, even the 2D animated one, goes more to Count Dooku. Because he's obviously meant to have been Qui-Gon's master.
Yes.
It was meant to, and that's, Yoda was his master. It's meant to be this recurring, line of succession, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's like the second film's like, oh, Count Dooku, like, and it's like, you don't see him until, like, the end of the second act.
Yeah.
And he's barely in it. And then they kill him at the start of the third one. And it's like, he should have been in the first one, because he's such a pointless kind of character.
And there was so much potential there to make it really
I see his
interesting.
Point. Like, the whole purpose of that character was almost meant to be like, if Obi-Wan died instead of Qui-Gon, this could have happened to Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's meant to almost have been like almost a foreshadowing if Obi-Wan died instead of Qui-Gon, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. And when Dooku and Obi-Wan Kenobi talk in episode 2, they sort of have this discussion of, Obi-Wan's kind of like, oh no, Qui-Gon would never have thought like that, he would never be at your side and stuff. And then, you have to kind of question, does Obi-Wan really know what Qui-Gon was like at all?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that actually just...
Because if anything, Yoda was more of Obi-Wan's master than Qui-Gon was.
Yeah.
Because he followed Yoda more than Qui-Gon. And I think also because of Qui-Gon's death, Obi-Wan became more like the rest of the master. Like Mace Windu and Yoda.
Yeah.
And like Ki-Adi-Mundi and stuff. I said that his name and you were like, who?
Is that your guy that died in the last... Was he like the different?
Well, there was a lot. There was a lot of people who died in the last.
Yeah, I know, but none of them were really. None of them really stood out to me.
The guy with the big head.
Guy that had
the guy with
like
tall head. The guy tall head.
Yeah, that was the one. Is he kind of like grey, bluey?
No, he's like a. What about the droid attacking the Wookiees?
Is he purple?
What about the droid attacking the Wookiees?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that was the guy I thought. I thought he was kind of purpley blue. No. Anyways.
Just kind of pale.
I don't know.
No,
There's
but
too much stuff happening. I need to rewatch these films.
you were saying
so many
purpley
times.
blue guys. Like, who the fuck are you thinking about?
Isn't everybody kind of purpley?
Are you
blue
singing like
or
Ayla
not?
Secura or someone? Alright, I'm just saying names.
You're
Now.
just- yeah.
No, like Phantom Menace. I'll break it down structurally. Opening scene. Fuck, what is going on? So confusing. Because it's the problem with the opening scene is like it goes on for like 40 minutes.
Well,
Like it's until they get to Tatooine, it doesn't end.
the start of the film is very
So
confusing
long.
because you're just kind of like,
There's no
what?
context.
Why are they doing it?
Well, the opening
things
crawl is
they're
just
doing?
all about trade blockades and taxation, and you're like, what? Just tell me about a Jedi. Oh, 2 Jedi Knights. Oh, okay, there's some words I know. You know, as a child.
Yeah. Even as an adult, watching it, you're just like, I don't
It is very
understand
strange.
what's going
Like
on.
I understand why he's trying to do stuff, but you could cut a ton of stuff out. But that you know, the middle section of the film's kind of alright. I actually don't mind the pod racing. It does go on a bit.
Yeah.
But
See, I just think your man is so cute. Like, Anakin is so cute.
Jake Lloyd.
Yeah, I don't understand.
per Jake Lloyd, I have to say, people give Jake Lloyd so much, and you know, it did fuck up his life, and I feel really bad for him. Like, you know,
I didn't understand how people abused him. Though.
because
Like, he's
Star
so
Wars
cute in
fans
it.
are the best fans in the world, but also the worst fans. It's literally,
true.
you have both extremes in that fandom. It's mental. Like, because it is the most loved franchise and the most hated. It's very strange to say. But, yeah, no, like, middle section I don't mind. Third act, I'm like, okay, you have 3 things going on, George. You only need 2, right? You know what I mean? Because realistically, right, what you have in that final act is the Duel of Fates, which is,
Your 3 boys.
you know, Maul, fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn having a fight. You have Anakin up in space shooting the fucking Death Star. I know it's not Death Star. I don't give a fuck. Trade Federation ship, okay?
Yeah.
It's meant to be the Death. You know, it's very like symbolic of the first Star Wars
Yeah.
film, right? And you have the Gungan War happening in that moment in time. Now, get rid of one. That's my point. Literally get rid of one.
Yeah.
Now, I understand the whole point of 2 of them are there because they're literally intertwined. 1, get rid of.
Yeah.
Literally get rid of the lightsaber fight. I don't care. I loved it's one of the best lightsaber fights. It should have happened earlier on in the film.
Yeah.
Because up until literally, it's the only lightsaber fight in that film. Because the only one you have is a short, you know, interaction between Maul and Qui-Gon and Tatooine for 20 seconds. You know, that fight should have happened earlier. Then the whole spaceship happened. It's just the fact that there's 3 things going on in the climax of the film, and there really should be 2, because you're cutting between 3, and it's like, fuck, what's going on? You know, we're on a second watch, you understand what's really going on. But I said to you, and I think you agreed with me, that Phantom Menace is literally A New Hope, but in just slightly different order.
Yeah.
Because even that 3rd act is the whole, you know, we're blowing up a big
blowing
fucking
up a ship,
spaceship.
yeah.
Yeah. And, you know,
much.
there's basically a trench run.
Yeah.
And, you know,
You know, after, you know, when Obi-Wan's fighting Maul, so I can't actually remember that fight, but remember, because in the 3rd film you were like, oh, well, you remember in the Phantom Menace. Whenever.
oh, yeah, yeah.
So what actually happens whenever Obi-Wan's fighting Maul?
In,
Like,
Phantom Menace.
how does he defeat him? Like, how was it?
oh, he jumps over him and cuts him in half.
But Maul was higher up than him. Or...
Yeah. He had the high ground.
Oh, and he cut him in half and he fell.
Your reaction to him getting cut in half, like, he gets cut in half. I was like, do you know anything about Darth Maul? That's his whole
No.
character, bro. He gets cut in half and he gets these fucking class spider legs.
I literally knew nothing about Darth Maul.
Well, no, I find it kind of weird because the cool thing, I think this is another problem, is you know, something that the original trilogy does well, and even the sequel trilogy does very well, is it has a consistent villain throughout the 3 films. And I really think they should have brought Maul. Like, Maul should have been the main threat.
Yeah.
Throughout all 3
so
films.
Sick of Palpatine, to be honest.
No, well, if you think about the second one, you have Dooku, and the third one, you have Grievous.
Yeah, but you don't really.
No, but they are seen as the 3 main.
I know, but it's weird.
I know what you mean,
because they don't feel like it.
Because everyone always says about like Clone Wars, you know, the 3 anime show is, you know, it's great, Maul, and I'm always like, yeah, I just wish he was in the fucking you know, because it would make so much sense because the 3D anime Clone Wars is canon. That means, those characters in the films who never mention these characters that they interact with, and you know, and this is why, you know, I was saying again, the 2D animated Clone Wars makes more sense canonically because the events that happen in that are referenced in the film, at least. Yeah. The events that happen in the 3D Clone Wars TV show are never mentioned or referenced in the 3 films. Yeah. You know, well, 3rd film really. Go on.
I think because obviously I watched the prequels before I had watched the 2D Clone Wars, and I thought General Grievous was meant to be like kind of a joke character. Like that's how I perceived him. And then until I seen him in the Clone Wars, and then I seen him in Clone Wars, and I was like, oh my god, he's actually a really good villain.
This man's fucking threat.
But I feel like Clone Wars is the only thing I've seen him in that I actually thought he was.
You are talking about the 2D one.
Yeah. Oh, because I've seen him in the 3D one, and I thought he was kind of a joke character as well.
He is, because in the 3D one, he's basically his character from the 3rd film.
Yeah,
which I think
is
kind of
a joke. I didn't know what it was. Like, he was really cool.
We'll get in the 2D animated thing in a minute. Go. I want anything else to talk about in Phantom Menace.
Keira Knightley's alright.
Oh, I forgot she's in it. Oh, by the way, in this, just sum up this entire trilogy and just one thing, John Williams just doing a great job. I think he's doing better than he did in the original trilogy.
Yeah, I really like the music in the.
Yeah.
It's just John Williams.
It's John Williams, though. Yeah.
John Williams
is Star Wars. I think John Williams is at his best with Star Wars, though. Anyways, episode 2.
I was really bored. What was really funny is because I only had seen the prequel trilogy once before we rewatched it. Yeah. And I didn't remember anything from. I obviously fell asleep during the first time I watched Attack of the Clones because I don't remember anything that happened in that film other than any scenes between Padme and Anakin. That's about the only thing I remember.
Well, I think the problem with these films is in the first film, episode 1, not enough happens. Mm-hmm. Episode 3, enough happens, like a perfect amount. Yeah. In the second film, too much is going on because it had to like basically set up it because it was like, oh fuck, we have one film after this. Shit, we have to do a ton of stuff in this film. Like they didn't really. Yeah. Because the way I see it is, episode 1 is a waste of film because it doesn't really add anything.
No, it doesn't really do anything.
Like if you got rid of it and had episode 2 and then a film and then episode 3, you know.
Do you think though that the fact that Qui-Gon dies does have a part to play in Anakin becoming who he is? Because if Qui-Gon had been around,
well, that's why it's called the Duel of the Fates. Because if it literally depends, if Qui-Gon lives, Anakin doesn't become Vader. If Qui-Gon dies, he becomes Vader. It's the whole point. Okay. Because he's raised by Obi-Wan.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. It's kind of sad. I also read like do you know whenever Liam Neeson wanted to put his hand on Shmi at some stage to comfort her or something in the first film, in Phantom Menace or something. It's.
Are we still talking about Phantom Menace?
No, I know. It came into my head, but it was like, at some stage he's comforting her whenever I think she's going to give up Anakin or something. He puts his hand on her shoulder, he goes to comfort her. And George Lucas was like, no, I don't want that in the film. And Liam Neeson was like, no, I think it'd be really, really good for some emotion. And it's just kind of funny because I just like...
It's just George. Yeah, I know.
It's just like he didn't want to create any emotion with any of the characters, but it does make sense for Liam Neeson's character. Because it's just Liam Neeson, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's not really playing a character. He's
he's
himself.
just like, I'm just a nice guy.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Sorry, we were on Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones, yeah. Worst opening of any Star Wars film. Like, even Rise of Skywalker is bad opening. Well, Rise of Skywalker had like a cool opening, just very jarring. But, and edited really weirdly. But, no, like, fucking awful opening. It literally is, okay, looks good. Big explosion. What the fuck's going on? And then it's like a bunch of Jedi having a conversation with Palpatine. You're like, sorry, did the film just start? That was the opening scene. It does feel like there's a scene, like they missed the opening scene.
Well, you said that for a lot of that film. You were like, it just feels like there's a scene missing between every transition. Literally,
because something happens, and it's just like, sorry, this was never talked about. It does feel like genuinely there is a scene missing from every scene in the film. And this is the second longest Star Wars film, I think. I think Last Jedi only beat it recently. Really but yeah, it is a film that almost has 4 acts.
Yeah.
It
does, yeah.
Because there's a lot going in this film. Like, there's a lot going on. Mm-hmm. And I think it was because, this is what they had to do in this film. Show Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship. Mm-hmm. Introduce Count Dooku, because we did in the last film. Mm-hmm. Make a relationship for Anakin and Padme. Mm-hmm. Introduce the clones. Introduce the Clone Wars. Right?
Yeah.
Have a ton of exposition. Show more of Palpatine's rise to power. Mm-hmm. And it's just too much for a film. There is too much going on.
Mm-hmm. The relationship between Anakin and Padme in this film's really weird. Like, he's really creepy in it. Yeah, it all feels kind of strange. Like, the fact she'd seen him as a kid, and I know she kind of was a kid, but she wasn't a kid in the last film, and now they're kind of flirting. It's weird.
Also, you have to show Anakin's fall to the dark side slowly in this film.
Oh yeah.
There is too much going on in this film.
Yeah. Well, what I find really weird is... Cause
you could have focused on 2 things and it would have been fine for a film, but they're doing 5 things.
I think as well, one of the things that really bothers me and that doesn't carry through is when Anakin kills everybody and
the Sand People, Tusken Raiders, yeah.
Yeah. And she kind of... Padme just kind of is like... Oh,
yeah, she kind of no, but she has this look of, this guy's crazy. Oh, I'm gonna kiss him at the end of the film, though. I'm just like, what?
But it is weird because it's just kind of surely if they had been doing it right, Padme
should not have known about this event occurring.
Or else
he should not have told her, because how the fuck would you fall in love with her?
I know, it's really strange. And then surely her reaction should have been, he's mental, and then whenever because then in the last film when Obi-Wan's he's gone the dark side, she'd be like, yeah, I can see that happening because he killed women and children in the last
it is almost like I think Padme has onset dementia though, because she does forget a lot of stuff in these films,
or George Lucas forgot to write her.
Oh, that too, but
which is really annoying.
Because she's basically a teen in the first film.
Yes.
And she's an adult essentially in the second film.
It's just kind of the typical Lucas didn't know how to write woman though. Which really
because Carrie Fisher, if you think Carrie Fisher was just I just made half this shit up myself.
She literally
she did play herself. Carrie Fisher did just play her. Princess Leia just is Carrie Fisher though.
And even in the first film, she's a wee bit all over the place until she finds her feet. She's kind of, I don't know what's going on with.
No, until Princess she gets Leia, a gun, she's like, oh fuck yeah,
Yeah, it takes her a while to settle into.
Well, I think most of the original trilogy is just people playing themselves. Mark Hamill is just playing himself. Harrison Ford, once again, is just playing himself, you know what I mean? Billy D. Williams is again playing himself, you know what I mean? There was a lot of that going on. Whereas all these great actors in the prequel. Like, there's a lot of good actors in this trilogy, but it's just like, what? They don't know what the fuck to do, like, because the script's shit, and the director isn't helping. Yeah. He's just telling me to do it faster, and show less emotion. Yeah, I don't understand, like, but
it's really weird. I want to understand why
Lucas's mindset.
Why he doesn't want any emotion.
Well, I think it's because the only other sci-fi example is THX.
Okay, I haven't seen THX.
It is basically like a bunch of emotionless humans that are basically like robots, essentially. It's a very weird film.
It is weird.
But that film works because it's like, obviously that's the intention of the film. This film is like, no one's likable. Star Wars, they're meant to be likable characters.
But I don't see it as sci-fi, so I don't understand.
Oh, that's more fantasy. I know what you mean. Yeah,
so I don't understand why the characters have to be like robots.
I have no idea.
It's just weird.
But this second film, also they had to introduce Django and Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
I loved the yellow armor. I never noticed
for the clones, Phase 1 armor.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, like, I don't really think you need Boba Fett in this film. Like, I don't think you needed Django and Boba Fett. I mean, I see why Lucas did it, because A, can sell a bunch of fucking toys, and people love Boba Fett, even though he is probably one of the most overrated characters, until you get to The Mandalorian, obviously. But, yeah, because, like, if you think about it, we've seen Boba Fett do nothing cool in this entire 9-film saga. He's only in fucking 3 films.
What 3 films is he in?
Well, he's in episode 2.
Yeah.
He's in episode 2, he's in episode 5 and episode 6. And that's it. He didn't do anything in them.
What was he in 5? Is he a background character in episode 5?
He's a secondary character, really.
I don't remember.
That's the only film. That's the only film in the original trilogy he has dialogue in. He's 5 lines dialogue in that film.
See, I don't remember him in any film.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And then whenever he came in Mandalorian, obviously I had no context.
Oh,
and
really?
I was just like, I've heard this name before, but why do I not know
Well,
who
it's
he
really
is?
weird because Boba Fett was basically...
I really loved him.
Well, the thing is, Boba Fett was basically really cool in novels and comics, but we had never seen it. So when it came to Mandalorian, we were like, oh fuck, we get to actually see shit going on. Like, this guy's badass. Like, and this is without his armor, and then he gets his armor, he's fucking up everyone's shit. Like, because he's meant to be like the most feared bounty hunter, like his father was Django Fett, obviously, even though he's a clone of him. The clones. I mean,
it's very underused for such
No, but the thing, because it's mentioned in episode 4, like it's mentioned in New Hope, is like, you fought in the Clone Wars, and for years Lucas was like, no one's allowed to do anything about Clone Wars. When Clone Wars come, it's my time to shine. I get to do the Clone Wars. Like, no one gets any fucking say on it. So, like, no one, when, like, in between this original trilogy and the prequels, no one in novelizations was meant to go into much detail other than just mention the Clone Wars. You weren't allowed to describe anything that happened in it, because Lucas was like, no, I'll do that in the prequel trilogy. You'll get to see the Clone Wars then. And then you get to it, and it's like, we fucking skip it. It's like, what the fuck? What was the point, you stupid bastard? Like, no, but you know what I mean? Like,
it is such a waste.
Because what he did then, he realised, he's like, I can't really do it in the third film. I can't really show the Clone Wars. I'll show the end of it, like. Tartakovsky, you did Samurai Jack. I kind of like the animation. Can you just fill in the Clone Wars? He's like, what happens? He was like, George basically told him, right, this is how episode 2 ends, obviously.
Yeah.
Right. It has to sort of like this. You have until this is what the character's like in episode 3. Fill in the blanks. Like, there was no direct. He was just like, there you go, do what you want. And then when Tartakovsky made those,
the 2D.
Yeah, he was like, I don't really like them. I was like, what, you give me nothing to work with. Like, what the fuck did you expect?
It's real, but it's
such a George Lucas thing to do, though. All the Tartakovsky 2D.
Like, I love the first couple of episodes are just like,
the first season is literally like, there were 2-minute clips essentially made to sell toys. Because the first time I kind of watched them was on the Cartoon Network channel, but they would be shown in between TV episodes, like just episodes of TV shows. You'd be watching fucking you know, Dexter's Laboratory or something, and then you get a 2-minute ad for like Yoda fucking up some droids, like, and then it was like, boom, Clone Wars, blah blah blah. These toys are sold here and shit.
I kind of want to go watch it now.
Well, this is the thing. I genuinely believe that Attack of the Clones is episode 1.
Yes. We should have a film about Clone Wars in between.
Yeah, essentially. Well, I'm so happy they were added to Disney Plus, because for ages it was like so hard to find. Like, you had to get a DVD of them because they never put them on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Or even obviously 4K. But it's good to see that they're finally on Disney Plus now. Mm-hmm. Even though they're considered not canon, but in my eyes they are.
Yeah, which is weird because it's something like, I can't really remember them that well, but something happens to Grievous. Doesn't Mace Windu choke him or something?
So season 2 is basically one big film essentially.
Yeah,
it's like an hour long, or hour and 10 minutes or something. And that entire hour is basically leading up to the start, or the start of the show ends at the start of Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
So everything that happens in that is basically in the title crawl for Revenge of the Sith. And because you've no context, you don't know who the fuck Grievous is.
No.
Like, most people just watch the films. I don't care when people say, oh, well, Maul's a great character, because, well, 3D anime, the 3D anime, Clone Wars is great and stuff. I'm just like, yeah, but 99% of people who watch Star Wars don't have time to somehow figure out the chronological order of the 3D anime Clone Wars.
Yeah, literally.
Right. Then watch, like, fucking 20 hours of it.
Yeah.
Right, if I give you up, right, you can watch like
I was
20 hours.
Watch the Clone Wars, but I just couldn't.
It's because there's no order, really.
No,
right.
It's too frustrating.
What would you rather watch? 20 hours of Clone Wars, or 2 hours, and it's basically canon to the films.
Yeah.
Because the events that happen in that
it ties in perfectly because it was written.
Yeah, because like Mace Windu does like a Dark Force ability. After Grievous is captured, which is a class sequence, him trying to capture, because you see all these Jedi like getting fucked up by Grievous, because it's the only time you see Grievous fucking up Jedi essentially. Yeah. You see him in his prime, and he captures Palpatine, and he's in the ship, and then Mace Windu obviously does the Force kind of choke, which just crushes his lungs, and you hear him cough, and then that's obviously
why he coughs. And so if Mace Windu uses. What does that kind of mean?
Well, I'll go into it. So Mace Windu's purple lightsaber, because he can basically dabble into the dark side without being succumbed to it. Like, he doesn't. He's so like, how do I describe it? So he's such a Jedi and so tapped into the Force that he can't be corrupted by the Dark Force. Okay. Or the dark side, sorry.
He's a symbol.
Well,
he's incorruptible.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, whereas Anakin is just like, oh yeah, give me that good shit. Like,
yeah.
But he's not tempted by it. Like, Mace Windu's not tempted at all. So he can that's why he finds a good balance between the two.
Okay.
Even though it's banned from using those abilities. But yeah, Attack of the Clones, we didn't really talk much on it, but I don't like it. There is a lot more going on, and like that ending sequence is very enjoyable where you see the clones in action essentially. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a much better battle compared to the previous film.
Yeah.
Because there is 3 things going on, but not simultaneously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have one thing happening, which is the Gladiator Arena, which is obviously because I know exactly why. Because Gladiator came out like 2 years prior, and they're like, George, can we put this in the film? Then the next thing that happens is the big actual battles. Then the third thing is the duel. Mm-hmm. It's not 3 or 2 things happening simultaneously. It's one after the other, and I think that's why the third act works in that film.
The way Anakin's mum is like
Shmi,
kidnapped by the Sand people.
Yeah, Tusken Raiders. Yeah.
Does Palpatine do that? Order that?
I think I read that Dooku hired the Tusken Raiders. Palpatine told him to hire the Tusken Raiders.
Okay.
To capture Shmi or whatever and torture.
It's just because Palpatine's plan.
Oh, it's so specific. No, we're not getting into that. It's
it just relies on so many things
if
that
you wrote it down,
that you have to
if you wrote it down, you're just like, fuck, how did this happen? And I hate it, and a lot of people say it, but I genuinely hate it when villains can like see into the future, so their plan is incorruptible. Essentially, like their plan is faultless, because it's such a lazy such a lazy way to write something. Like it's like, oh, he knew this would happen, so he did this, and it's like, oh, shut the fuck up. No, he didn't. You're just making up shit now. Because a lot of people, like when it comes to like BVS, a lot of people say, Lex Luthor's plan so strange. It's like, to be honest, not really strange. Like it makes a lot of sense compared to this waffle that goes on in Attack of the Clones. Yeah, that plan is. Oh, I have no idea. Like.
Yeah. Because I was watching, I was like, but why is she captured by the Sand People? Like, what's going on? They don't go into it.
I know. It feels like George
it is kind of sad,
later.
I did actually find that bit like kind of sad.
Oh, it's obviously meant to be the start of his turn, essentially.
Yeah.
Fun fact: the IMAX version of Attack of the Clones is 20 minutes shorter.
Oh, great! Yeah, I'll watch that.
But it's kind of weird because it cuts out like big scenes in the film. It's like, really, you cut that from the film? Because it's like a lot of the Padme and Anakin stuff is cut.
Okay. Well, what scenes?
I know them. Fucking
There's some
flirting.
skippable
them
scenes.
and Naboo or whatever flirting. I did love that. It's like she has to go into hiding. Where's she gonna go? Her home planet. Like it's like really wow. We're gonna put her on. We'll never find her. We'll never find her there. And they're just in a field, a very open field. You could have got anyone.
Yeah.
You could have hired Django. Could have killed her. Yeah.
Who dies belonging to her at the start of the film? You know the way like somebody dressed up as her.
No. She's not.
It's not Keira Knightley though.
No, she's not Senator Naboo anymore. I don't think.
Oh.
I don't think so. I think she's a senator of Naboo, but she's not like the queen of Naboo anymore.
Yeah,
and that's like a front of the queen or something. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. You can cut that scene. Like I understand that's the whole point of the film, and it's like, oh, she's being threatened because she wants to stop.
Well, she wants to keep it a democracy.
Yeah, like, I don't care. They try and teach you a lot in the film. It's like, you don't realise till you're an adult anyways, and you know about this shit anyway. So it didn't teach me as when I was young, George.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I understand.
It was a bit too confusing.
Well, I understand what he was trying to do, and I understand, like, it was good, fair play, clap, but just didn't work. Like, we're not shitting on these films, but we are but I do enjoy them. I have to say, I do enjoy aspects of these films. I'm not, I am ripping them apart a wee bit, but I do enjoy a lot of one. Weirdly enough, I do enjoy a lot of things it brings into you in terms of the second one. I think this film trilogy. I think these films work very well as a trilogy if you watch them back to back, especially in like one setting, because it's very consistent at least.
I feel really weird because I've only ever seen. That's my second time seeing them, the prequels.
Yeah.
I've only seen the sequels once.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to see which one I prefer.
That's very different.
I think I will prefer the prequels over the sequels.
Well, I think there is a lot of shit that the prequels at least explore, even though they aren't good films.
No, they're not.
They're not good films, but at least the themes are there. And it's like, oh well, that is at least interesting.
Well, I feel like
the whole
in a way,
Palpatine's Rise of Power is very interesting
film.
because it's the subplot of the trilogy, really, and it is more interesting than the fucking main plot sometimes because you're sitting there like, oh, this is kind of interesting, like how he's like weaving his way into power essentially by forcing the hand of other people. Yeah, and he's just like, oh no, but I'm sorry, I know you have an army and there's a big threat and stuff, but I don't have any power. I wish I could have emergency power, which means it's a fucking dictatorship. Like I like the little subtle things that it's like he was playing both sides to benefit himself.
He is a great villain though.
Well, I think Ian McDiarmid is just very good.
I mean,
like,
he's such
you can tell he's a theatre actor.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah.
It does feel like this very Shakespearean role he's playing.
Yeah.
You know, and just...
Especially in the last
Oh,
film.
he's chewing the scenery in that film. I fucking love it. Because it's just like...
No,
this
no.
isn't subtle at all, but it's kind of like, you know, like... People talk about, like, well, every Willem Dafoe performance, essentially. But you know what I mean? Where it's just, you are just sitting there enjoying it and chewing the scenery, and you do kind of steal the show. Yeah.
It's weird.
No,
though,
but in the third one where he's just like, the force is strong with you. And you sit there, you try not to laugh, like, cause it's wild fucking funny.
What I find most jarring is, though, his scenes with Mace Windu, like with Samuel L. Jackson, because it's just kind of like...
Yeah,
because they're
the
just
fight,
so different. They're such different actors. Like,
yeah, I know.
And their acting just doesn't like mesh.
No, I know it is. It is like if you could have got two actors who would just not blend well on the scene together, but George somehow did it. You know, and everyone thought, oh, Hayden Christensen and you know, Natalie Portman. No, Samuel Jackson, Ian McDiarmid. You know.
As I said, though, I love all of the actors. I don't think they're doing a great job
all
the time, but I love all of them.
What I love about this trilogy is all these actors have either done something good before or after this film, because this film is not a good... You know, there's some really
just
good
love
actors.
Ian McGregor in it, though. Like, I know he's not acting great.
He's not doing a good performance. I don't know, because everyone thinks,
so
he's
funny.
amazing in that. I was like, no, we watch the same film?
It just feels like he's taking the piss all the time, though.
I think he's good in the
that's
third film. I think in the second one, it's like, oh, this is just bad. You know when they're in the elevator?
Oh, I love that sequence.
No, and
I love it
Anakin's
so
just
much.
like, oh, do you remember that? And, you know, or something. And, you know, oh, let's just talk about, you know, all the times throughout the year. Let's never show them. But let's just talk about all those cool adventures we had.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan's just like, oh, yes. And you can tell the laugh was dubbed in. And it's so, oh, fuck,
No, but
I don't know.
I love the elevator scene because it's just kind of like, it feels like something out of a TV show or something. Like
It's a film. It's not meant to
But
be.
it feels so strange.
It is,
They're
yeah.
just kind of it feels so like they're actually just talking to each other, and they just were like, oh, just keep the camera rolling, because it's like, oh, it's only you. Like,
It does
what
feel
are
like
you
it was
doing
ad-libbed
here?
as a joke. But they kept it in. They're like, really?
It does.
They kept this in?
Like, if I go to rewatch it, I'll just rewatch those scenes that feel really weird in the
Well,
film.
I find it weird because, like, there was a lot of people up for the role of Anakin and Attack of the Clones. Right, I'm just going to run some names by you, right?
Okay.
Paul Walker.
Okay.
DiCaprio, I think, was asked at one stage.
Oh dear.
And I'm going to give you one more, and you're going to be like, really? Why did they not cast him? Heath Ledger. I think Heath Ledger would have been a good... I genuinely think he would have been a good...
Yeah.
Because even he would have somehow made it good with the shit he had. Because he is a good actor regardless.
Well, what did Hayden Christensen do before?
Well, I understand what their thought process. And
Was he kind of like not
well, he
really
wasn't.
a
Well,
name or
he'd only
anything?
done like one or two kind of big films. One was like a big film.
What had he done?
He was almost... Huh?
He feels like...
Oh, I can't remember, but he played this like really moody teenager. And I think that's exactly why he got cast for this film.
okay.
Because he does do that well. You can tell he's just like this teen who's just kind of pissed off.
He does feel like he just came out of a TV movie. That's what it feels like to me. No, I'm not criticizing
I don't
him.
blame him.
I quite like
Yeah.
him. I don't think he's
I'm
doing
very
a good
excited for his
job,
return.
but
you
I
know.
do really like him.
Yeah. Well, I think all
And
these
I think
actors
he's
are doing a
amazing.
great job for people who have nothing to work with.
Literally nothing.
Like even Christopher Lee's just like, oh fuck it, I don't know, I'm just gonna say what I want, like, and see if he says anything.
Yeah, because even he's not doing a great job.
Tamora
And it's
Morrison's doing
Christopher
great.
Lee.
It was a good introduction to Tamora Morrison. He did play 100,000 people in this film.
Well,
This film also features the sexiest sound of all in Star
yeah.
Wars, seismic charges.
I love whenever we were watching, because remember when we watched Mandalorian together and you were like, oh my god, are they going to do it?
Yeah,
They're
and
gonna
you
do
had
it.
no idea
And
what I was
like,
talking about.
What? You were like, oh, it's the sexiest sound of all of Star Wars.
And I was like, oh my god, because it fucks up like 2 TIE fighters. Yeah, Attack of the Clones. It's very necessary, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is it's not a good film, but it's very necessary. Like, Phantom Menace, I think, is a better film.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Like, I would prefer watching that over Attack of the Clones.
Which is unfortunate.
Which is strange. I know a lot of people don't have that, but Attack of the Clones...
He took Jar Jar out of it, maybe.
Attack of the Clones, it's necessary, but it's just not a good film, which annoys me.
The third one's obviously the best one.
So, we started the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars starts at the end of this film.
Yes.
And obviously, that's when Genndy Tartakovsky's 2D anime Clone Wars set. Mm-hmm. What do you think of it? Because I think it's amazing. So I think it's really good.
I do want to rewatch it because it's been like 2 years since I've watched it.
Yeah.
But I remember feeling so excited after I watched it because it just kind of gets to the... But I think because it is so short, it gets to the point. But it like kind of... Like I said, Grievous was for the first time I seen him and I was like, oh my god, he's actually a character. He's not just like a joke character. I remember Mace Windu being in it.
Fucking...
He was really cool. Like,
yeah, I love it because like I understand why like
films.
Samuel Jackson would be like, oh cool, I get to play this really cool Jedi.
Yeah.
And it's like, I hope he saw some of those episodes because he would have been so pissed off. He's like, I really did nothing this trilogy, didn't I?
Literally.
Because the character in the 2D animated show is so badass. Like, when he's surrounded by, I know, thousands of droids, and he fucks them up. And then, like, he just starts beating the fuck in them with his bare hands. Like,
yeah, I feel like...
Like that scene where they introduced Grievous.
Because of the medium, though.
Huh?
Like
the 2D animated aspect.
I always think...
Well, it is anime.
Yeah.
I think it's very anime inspired, that.
Like, the likes of... For me, and I do like live action, but for the likes of, like, even superhero films and stuff, and, like, especially Star Wars, I think cartoons or, like, animation always does it better. Just because you have more you have more freedom.
Because it's
you can see Yoda jumping around. Yeah. And it doesn't feel...
And it doesn't
really
look
weird.
wonky.
Yeah. Not even Yoda, because Yoda kind of works because it's a puppet, but like literally whenever like, you know, it would be really weird if he's seen like Obi-Wan like doing loads of flips. And like, you know, a working
this show
situation.
has the best Obi-Wan outfit ever. And it's him in the clone trooper outfit and just the long hair, and he's just so fucking cool looking.
So cool.
And he's on the fucking speeder and he just turns with the fucking there's some great episodes, and
yeah, I really want to go rewatch
because they're great kind of like singular stories, I feel like in like 3 minutes, 5-minute bursts.
Well, I think that shows you're doing it right though, if you can just tell a story in under 3 minutes.
Like even like the introduction of Grievous, where you have all the Jedi in like a cave freaking out, and then you just see him just crush a Jedi, and then he just stands up and they do this big like wide shot, and he just looks like this horrifying giant figure that is just terrifying.
He is terrifying.
And I know they save it for the second season of him using like all 4 arms essentially, which I kind of like. But they even go into his training, and they have Ventress in there, even though she's barely a character in that. And Anakin, you see when she's fighting Anakin. Yeah. And Anakin is just like, all right, this guy's fucking crazy, you know. Like I think a lot of people haven't seen that show, and I think because it, like, you can literally watch a whole thing 2 hours. It's literally a film. Yeah. It literally fills the gaps in between 2 and 3, and I really think people should go and watch it because it is on Disney Plus now. So people are more likely to.
It's just very enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
Like, it's just very well made.
More enjoyable than the prequels somehow, but
no, it is, and it really is. I think if you like animation at all, you should watch it.
Even anime.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's kind of the fine line. It's not technically anime,
but it's obviously very anime inspired.
Yeah.
You know, very similar to like Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
Episode 3. The best of the trilogy.
I find I would have liked to have watched these films without knowing all the memes that came from.
Why? Because you can't really take them seriously.
At all. Like, my watch of it is so different to what I imagine your first watch of it was.
When I was 5.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because you would have seen it and you would have just taken it
my God, this is amazing.
as a film. Whereas when I watch it now, I'm nearly viewing it as a satire. Like, it doesn't feel real when I'm watching it.
But I think this is such a really good film. Like, it's top 3 for me, Star Wars wise.
Oh yeah.
Like Star Wars films, like this one.
Yeah, well, fair enough, actually. You know, I preferred the original trilogy. I know that Anakin and Obi-Wan don't spend a lot of time together in this film either, but I do really like the relationship that they have in it. Because it does feel like they are brothers, so at the end it does...
Yeah.
I do feel like the end works really well, with Obi-Wan being like crushed.
Because I think
just devastated.
I think the weird thing is they did get that kind of like goodbye. Did they get to say goodbye to each other?
Yeah.
Before they go and have a fight.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
Yeah,
I think the problem with Revenge of the Sith is it does take place over like 4 months, and it just doesn't show that it takes place over the course of 4 months.
Yeah.
Because it is meant to take place over the course of 4 months. But it doesn't feel like that. It does feel like, oh, it's been like a week.
Oh yeah.
You know.
They don't do a very good job with the
I mean, I think my main problem with this film, really, let me think, what's really bad with this film? The third act.
It's a bit convoluted.
I think you should just take out, I don't think Yoda and Palpatine should have fought. I think they should have just taken that out. Because it takes away from Anakin and Obi-Wan's fight.
It also
because that's obviously the fight everyone gives a fuck about. No one cares about the Yoda and Palpatine fight. I just don't enjoy it. Like, I understand its purpose because Yoda has to like at least try and defeat.
Yeah.
And then he figures out, and then he goes into exile and all that because he just can't defeat him.
Yeah.
Because he's too powerful.
It looks really bad though. The Yoda and Palpatine.
Because they're throwing stuff in the Senate, and I don't care. Like, you know, when you have a cool set piece that is in Mustafar.
Well, yeah, it does look way better. Also, I think for a big battle, it does have to be this really good setting.
It's so grey.
Yeah.
It's just grey. Everything's grey. It's like, show me the red. No, because, like, it does distract from, I think... Well, the only other thing I had a problem with is the fucking Pirates of the Caribbean scene where Obi-Wan and Anakin are swinging with their lightsabers on the fucking big dish thing.
Yeah, the lava part I find...
I thought that it looks great. Like, I think it's integrated very well. I think it looks very good.
I don't love it.
It does look good though. I don't see what your problem with it is. It looks great.
I don't have a major problem with it. I just think I shouldn't have seen the sequels before I seen the prequels because my expectations were a wee bit all over the place. And then when I watched it, it's like, oh, this is not good.
You have to realize, what, 16 years old now?
I know, film. Yeah. It's kind of hard to believe, but...
Because I think Revenge of the Sith is the one that is just like, oh yeah, this looks good.
No, it has
like there's very few scenes where I'm like, oh, you know, but dodgy looking there. One of them being CGI head, Ian McDiarmid.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem. With
and then I love how in that scene, well, they do two lightsaber mistakes in that film. They do one where it's the close up of Palpatine and Mace Windu fighting, and Palpatine is Anakin's lightsaber, but it has red in it. Yeah. But it was meant to be because Anakin was meant to come and see them fighting and throw Palpatine lightsaber, but they just didn't cut. They just were like, oh, we'll just recolor it. No one will notice. And then later on, when Anakin and Obi-Wan are fighting, and there's a wide shot of Obi-Wan has his lightsaber in his hand, and they go to the close shot, and then it's like, oh, it's Anakin's lightsaber. And it's like, but what? No. And that was obviously meant to be, you know, a cut extended scene or whatever. But I really like this film because I think the score is great. Yeah. The cinematography is at its best. It's the only one where I'm like, right, this is really good cinematography, like throughout.
It does look good. It does look good. I hate Padme in it though. Like, it really kills me that they've just done nothing with her. They
cut all of her scenes out of the film.
Well, I would like to watch them, but can you watch any of them?
Yeah, there is deleted scenes. I don't think they're on Disney Plus. I think they're on YouTube though. But it's mainly her basically being like, the democracy's kind of dying here. Can we set up like a rebellion against it?
Yeah.
It's basically her helping like Mom Mothra's in it.
Well, see, this really annoys me because Padme's an actual character and she's just not from what you see.
Well, yeah, it's because they cut it from. I understand why they cut it because it's like there's a lot going on in this film, and you would have had an Attack of the Clones situation.
But I guess you can imagine, but like as a female watching it,
no, I know
it's very, very annoying that like you only get one real female character in it and they cut out all of her shit in it, and she's actually a really interesting character, and you're just like, oh great, more white boys fighting. This is what I really want.
I think this film does a really good job of being very Anakin centric. Like, it's very much about him, this film, and I think it's the one time where the whole film's literally about him, and I think that's why the film works, because everyone was like, this is what the whole fucking prequel was meant to be about. Why is it not about him?
Also, Anakin's so hot in it.
What, the long hair?
With the long hair.
It's a great wig.
Scar.
It's a great wig, isn't it?
Oh no, he looks great in it. I just think like, he
he's
has
buff
the
as
vibe.
Fuck in it.
I think he really fits the role in it. Really, really works for me.
I'm happy to see him Christensen's return in Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah. When is that meant to come out?
Next year.
Ooh. Kenobi.
No, but do you have anything to say about Revenge of the Sith? Because I literally don't. Because I just really like it as a film.
No, I definitely think it is the best of the three. As I said, no, my only problem with it is all the memes. Like, that's my only problem. Is I can't watch it without knowing.
That's where the fun begins.
I just can't watch it without
Twice the
like
pride, double the fall. Any other spring to mind?
Well, the entire like
unlimited power.
No, Obi-Wan's speech to Anakin at the end. That entire thing is just a meme.
You're my brother, Anakin.
You are the chosen one.
I have the high ground.
It's too much.
Robot Chicken do a great sequence where it's just like it's him doing the scene. It's like high ground, high ground. It's just him saying high ground constantly.
I hate Robot Chicken.
I think Robot Chicken's the cause of many of those prequel memes. To be honest,
I mean, having the memes does make it more enjoyable to watch.
Well, I think it's because people my generation of Star Wars fans grew up with that, as their Star Wars films, and that's why I think the jokes is because it's like we understand this reference, you know what I mean? We all get it. We all grew up with this franchise, especially these three films. Yeah. It's more of a like collective sort of a thing that's sort of bled out into like everyone else now.
Yeah. Because you don't get that with the sequels. Not really.
Not yet. I don't think it's a good time to say because that generation hasn't grown up yet. That generation are still children.
But you don't really have... The original trilogy doesn't really have that. Like, it does, but not...
Well, I think every trilogy has its fans. Oh, of course it does. It's a trap.
Huh?
It's a trap.
Yeah, but not to the extreme that the prequels have it. Like, every second line in the prequels
No, but I think it's because that generation grew up with the internet.
Yeah. And more cynical.
Well, it was just like, we just kind of took the piss out of everything.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, more cynical.
But
yeah. Like, is it also because the original trilogy is a wee bit... The actors kind of take a wee bit more...
Well, I think it's
they can afford to like not say
film.
George Lucas's lines.
Yeah, but it's a completely different trilogy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but they had more like creative freedom with their dialogue.
Oh yeah,
like they added more stuff than.
Well, I always say the prequel trilogy is kind of like Shakespeare. She can just quote it very easily. You know what I mean? I think it's very easily quotable.
Yeah, but that's
That's good though. Whether it be, it's not good. Wow. It's good that you can recite it. Doesn't mean it's good as in the film
it's
point
not
of view. It doesn't mean it's amazing. But as a trilogy, I think
it works as a trilogy.
It sort of does, even though episode 1 stands out in just a strange way overall. But I do enjoy it. Having rewatched it, I've come back knowing a lot more kind of things, and I've noticed a lot more. Like, I've enjoyed episode 1 a lot more. Yeah. I didn't enjoy episode 2 a lot more. Revenge of the Sith, same, never changes, never gonna change.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch Mandalorian now, knowing like now that I've seen the prequels.
Yeah,
before.
well, I'd say even Mandalorian mainly. That's kind of the only one.
That'll change my viewing of it.
Well, I think that's kind of it, isn't it?
I think so.
Well, like,
Unless you have any hidden details.
No. We could go on all day. No, I think that's been the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
I imagine we'll do an episode when we've rewatched the original trilogy. That will not be next week. It will not be the week after, and it will not be the week after that, because I'll tell people the plan right now. The next episode is Call of Duty. Mm-hmm. The episode after that is going to be Spider-Man. No.
That's already done Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, it's going to be Spider-Man No Way Home, I imagine.
Okay.
And then
we're that close.
And then it's going to be The Matrix. So I imagine the week after that will be the original trilogy.
We know what we'll be doing over Christmas, is what you're saying.
You are watching
just
Star
watching
Wars.
Star Wars.
Well, this is why I think it's the perfect time to release these, because this is coming out, right before December.
Yeah.
Because to me, Star Wars is Christmas.
Yeah, it is December. Yeah.
But thank you all for listening. Thank you to Buzzsprout for hosting as always. And make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Slade Podcast. And I will be back next week with Dave for Call of Duty.
All right.